Hi, Denise Naylor here, and welcome to News Views on the 20th of June 2018. Now, if you've been following my News Views, you'll know that some weeks ago I commented on the liquidation of Carillion plc, the large company that held a number of government contracts. And I commented that I really hoped we would get some information from the regulators. Well, we will get some information from the regulators, but in the meantime, we have something very interesting published on the 16th of May 2018, and that is the House of Commons Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and Work and Pensions Select Committee, published HC769 Carillion. You can find it on www.parliament.uk/BEIS. Now, this report is 105 pages long. No need to read it all at once. And it covers all bases. I have to say it is very, very interesting. One of the problems when you have a big report like this is people just get overwhelmed with so much detail, and in the end, nothing is dealt with properly. But I'm confident that all of these aspects are going to be considered in due course. And today I particularly want to talk about the auditors, KPMG, the auditor to Carillion, as I've talked about this before. But quickly, just to tell you what's in the report, in the 105 pages, it's divided into 3 sections. The first section is Carillion Public Limited Company, the company itself. They talk about the business approach the company had, corporate governance, the financial reports, and the board of directors of the company. The second section is called External Checks and Balances, and that covers comments on investors, auditors, advisors, pension trustees, the pensions regulator, the Financial Reporting Council, that's the regulator of the auditor, the role of government and corporate law. And the third and final part is lessons. Corporate culture, investors and stewardship, and the Big Four. So you can see already just from the title of the contents list that auditing is going to form a key part of this investigation. And I really think we're going to see some changes. So I just want to focus on, just let me get the report on the screen for you. And I just want to focus on what the report actually says about the auditor. I'm not going to read all of it, but my purpose really is just to introduce to you in this video actually what the problem is with the auditor, because a lot of people don't fully understand it or they're not even aware of it. So in paragraph 115 of the Carillion report, it says it's the responsibility of the board of directors to prepare and approve the company's financial accounts. The role of the auditor is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. Now, I want you to think of it like this: 3 parties. So the first party is the owners of the business, the shareholders. And one of the benefits of limited liability company law is that you can invest in a company without having to be involved in the day-to-day running of the company. So that is definitely the case for PLC. And if you are an owner in a company and you just rock up at the front door and say, hey, I want to be involved, sorry, no. Directors only. So in law, you as the owner of the company, as a body, you appoint a board of directors. So board of directors, these are employees, and they essentially run the company on behalf of the shareholders. That's really important to be aware of. Now, the most important thing for most shareholders is money. The dividend that they're going to get out of the profit, and eventually when they sell their shares, the amount of capital gain they're going to make, assuming all goes well. So it follows naturally that every pound or dollar or euro that the directors spend on behalf of the shareholders in the company reduces the profit, and that means less to pay out to the shareholders. So the shareholders have a vested interest in keeping expenses down. Now, the problem with the shareholders is, as I've said, they're not allowed into the company premises, so they can't check the financial accounts. So they need someone to do that for them, and that's the role of the auditor. And this stewardship role goes back probably thousands of years to the dawn of humanity. And the role of the steward, now the auditor, is simply to check the financial report of the board of directors and say to the shareholders either yes, it's correct, or no, it's not. Now, of course, in the agricultural world, it was easy to do that. How many goats did you have? How many pigs? How many cows? Just count them up. Not too much room for misreporting. But in the complexity of the modern world, it's a very, very difficult job. And that's why the auditor is required to give reasonable assurance. The auditor is not asked to certify accuracy. That's not really possible in today's world. So the auditor gives reasonable assurance, and to do that, the auditor does various tests. Now, remember what I said, the auditor is going to be reporting to the owners, the shareholders. Okay, so the shareholders say to the directors, dear directors, please appoint the auditor, and by the way, pay the auditor. Here's the conflict. Every pound you pay the auditor reduces the profit, and that upsets the shareholders. So the shareholders want the information, they want the report from the auditor, but, you know, in an ideal world, they don't want to pay for it. And also, because it's the board of directors who appoints the auditor, there's a very strong possibility on the face of it that there could be some, you know, how shall I say, familiarity between the directors and the auditor. Now, this is illustrated really very nicely in this report because the following paragraph 116, it states KPMG were Carillion's auditors for all 19 years of the company's existence from 1999. Such a long tenure inevitably calls into question whether they could provide the independence and objectivity that is crucial to high-quality audit. Now, we do have some changes in legislation. Auditors are going to have to rotate. Audit is going to have to be put out to tender in the future to limit this longevity. There are advantages, of course, to an auditor working for the same company for so long. They know it really well, but there are also potential pitfalls. So that just sets the scene for you. That's what this is about as regards the auditor. And incidentally, just to let you know that KPMG is being investigated by the Financial Reporting Council. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. So we await with interest what the financial regulator has to say on that. Certainly there have been some adverse comments on KPMG's auditing procedures. So this is the problem. The investors rely, the shareholders rely on the directors to run the company. They need an independent report on the financial results. That's done by an auditor, but the auditor is appointed by the directors. Now, this week, Michael Izza, who is the Chief Executive of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, full disclosure, I'm a member of that institute, interviewed on Radio 4, states that this issue is being looked into. We don't know yet what proposals will be put forward, but it may be that now is the time to review practice that dates back thousands of years, and perhaps we do need a different way of appointing the auditor, paying for the auditor, so that the independence of the auditor in reporting to the shareholders can be more clearly obvious and clear to the public and the investors. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for supporting the Cash Genie Global, and do join me again.